Okay, I'm
sir.
gonna call this meeting to order. First order of business is pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'm gonna open a. Good. Somebody checking in.
Joe just came on.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm gonna open public hearing to consider resolution to adopt a $5 permissive motor vehicle registration tax, which may be levied pursuant to section 4504.181 of the Ohio Revised Code. This permissive motor vehicle registration tax resolution, if adopted, would levy an additional annual $5 motor vehicle registration tax upon motor vehicles registered in the unincorporated areas of Perry Township. And I'm opening it up to roll call vote.
Mr. English?
Yes.
Mr. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none. I'm looking for, do we have two of
We
these?
get two, right?
Two of them. Or is it just one? I thought we had to hear it twice.
We do what tonight and then one more time.
Okay.
You'll vote on the next one.
So we'll vote, okay, so hearing
Sorry.
nothing, I'm gonna close the public hearing. By roll call vote.
Mr. English?
Yes.
Mr. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Looking for an approval of the regular session minutes from March 21st.
I'll make that motion.
Second vote,
Yes.
yes. So we can get you to your next thing.
25%.
It's new.
I don't really have anything. I didn't know if Chief had anything for me. I mean, I know he's got an email. But I guess the biggest thing that I was just trying to push at those meetings is just with the rainy season coming, especially, closer to Darby Creek and things like that, as you see roads flood and things like that, just to let residents know, try not to, if you can't see the road, don't drive through it. So, that's kind of our big push. I know we had some roads flooded over Brown Township when we got that heavy rain a couple weeks ago. So it's kind of a big push to car stuff over in there. But other than that, for Chief, if he has anything, we don't really have a whole lot. So do you have anything for me?
I do not. I just want to say thank you again, always for your help and support.
I appreciate you guys just as much. So
We appreciate too the information you're bringing to us. We're having our PIO get that pushed out
Absolutely.
as it goes.
yeah, if you guys need anything else from me, I think most of you have my email address. If not, I can email that. So
Okay.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
thank you so
Thanks
much.
again.
Have a good evening. Yep.
All right, down to the public comment period, Brookside.
Easter egg hunt this Saturday, 10 to 12. With a chance of snow or rain, apparently, a lot of rain, apparently.
Worthington Hills.
Worthington Hills has their annual membership meeting this Wednesday evening at the Worthington Hills Country Club. And the big issue is the post office boxes at the bottom of the hill. So not in our jurisdiction. We are helping. So
So you don't have to get out of your car to mail an envelope?
you don't have to get out of the car
Oh, wow.
to mail an envelope. That's the.
Well, it's ridiculous. I mean, you gotta like park your car. It makes no sense.
The push is to put them back where they were.
Right.
Or at least one back where they were. So we're going to work through Balderson's office to the post office. So.
Connor Rebel.
Tomorrow night is their community meeting. And I again didn't get a chance to tell you, Chad. Ms. Lamone reached back out to the chief to see
Okay.
if he could come in and be
Good.
present for that meeting.
Okay.
So, but chief will, I'm sure there's spaces. Not a lot of space, and there's gonna be a lot of people. So.
There you go. Well, they
That's
like
tomorrow night, did you say?
guys in uniform. So
Mhm. And thanks, chief, for being willing to do that, by the way.
No problem at all.
and they have a board meeting on the 12th of May. Is that correct?
I'm not sure the date, but it is in May.
Okay.
Zoning. The only thing that I have is that there'll be a zoning commission hearing tomorrow on Brookside Development to approve or deny the development. Any detachment petition updates?
There's only one left that's pending. And we're gonna have to work through the planning commission with the resident. There's just a discrepancy on the acreage, so we'll gotta get that figured out, and that will, but it's in, and it's the last one to go, so.
I'm sorry, before we move on from that, Mary, I thought we were putting the Brookside communication plan under zoning. Remember you and I traded emails about that?
Yeah,
Did it get maybe put
I
underneath?
didn't see it anywhere. That's why I was
Okay.
asking. So I don't know where we want to cover it.
I
Does it-
thought, yeah, I thought it got pulled off,
Oh, it did?
I don't know.
okay.
Well, we want to chat about it. All right. Let's do it.
So first of all, I want to thank Luke for getting the letter out,
Mhm.
the e-blast out. I think it's important, as I mentioned in that email, and I know you all have experienced that we kind of get in front of the communication and make sure we're providing, you know, not just necessarily following the legal requirements, but also communicating the information as we have it and the link to the site. What I'm puzzled with, or what I need help on, is making sure that we have the most up-to-date information so that I can work with Luke and, you know, and Beth and Mary to get that out. So how do we want to handle that information share?
And actually, that put a light bulb off in my head, that I think it kind of ties into, we have points of contact now at the Brookside Country Club for people to call.
Yes.
We needed, and that was I told Mary not to worry, going back and adding it to the agenda, sorry. To have a point of contact here at the township, because some of the questions that Mary's been fielding, and me too for that matter, have been more related to the zoning commission and the board.
Well, and I think we talked about making sure that we had, you know, just kind of some bullet points, if you will, to make sure that we have the right information. Yeah. And I'm assuming, at least from here's where we are to date, that can likely be lifted from the e-blast that we did and the email from Joe. But going forward, I want to make sure that we're kind of in lockstep so we can communicate.
Yeah, the other thing that I know that Max has reached out, but on the drawings themselves has a name of who needs to contact, as well as I also think that Ian, you're, you know, from a road standpoint, I think it's, you know, I would, when things start getting hot and heavy, and granted, if it's approved tomorrow night, they still have to go through Franklin County for all of the engineering and stuff, but it, you know, everything, they start moving dirt and whatever. And I think it's probably something that you're gonna have to put in, just make sure that you get an updated know what they're doing, when they're doing it. We lose our screen.
Yeah.
I know.
Right.
So there.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I agree with that. I would really like to have a point of contact on this project, because there will be issues that arise from the construction traffic. We've already had one on one of the corners. Somebody cut it too short last week. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I will when I get back in the office.
Yeah, and that's on them to fix that. It's not on the township to come in and do it. And that's the reason why if we're over there or we see something or complaints, we need, you know, they need to rectify that like soon, like in street sweeping, all that other stuff. Joe, you can kind of spell in, but back to Michelle's point, I think it's the more we're in lockstep, and I know that they have a development website, so it's just making sure that what they're telling, what Brookside is telling residents, we're echoing, but I would say they're taking the lead because it's their project, but we should know exactly what's going on the development.
So,
Yeah.
and I realize we're not, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe.
If I could add, I think we talked earlier that I think it'd be very smart to go out there and video with Emery LaPlante, who is the contact that's on the drawings. Videotape the existing conditions. I believe we talked about that previously, but I think that gives us a basis for where we are and a basis for any argument that comes up later as to what people say they did and what they actually did. And we've got some proof there to be able to manage that.
You said his name's Emery Plant.
Emery LaPlante, yes, he's on the drawings that Mary's got the drawings in there, and it's actually on the drawings that are part of the public documents.
Okay. Yeah, the last we talked, I was under the understanding somebody was going to reach out to me to set up from that group to set up videotaping. I had Nate go down last week and drive down there slowly with his phone to record it for now. I will bring my GoPro and do a better recording of it on Wednesday when I come back to work.
Yeah, I don't believe anybody's going to reach out to you. I think that was just part of our preemptive to make sure that we've got a document that says this is what the existing conditions are.
Sounds good. I will reach out.
Great, thank you.
Beth, where is all the information on the Brookside development? Where's that located on our website?
Has that been, well, there was a page put up ages ago when this first started, but Michelle, weren't you and Luke and those folks working together to create a page?
Well, I did make the recommendation that we move it to its own page, since we were gonna have more information. So I think
Okay.
it was in the middle of the page with all kinds of statuses.
Okay,
I was just looking if I don't know that that's been done.
Yeah. 'cause
Yeah, I
just
think-
looked
I
under
think there's-
zoning, and there's nothing under zoning.
Yeah,
Let's see here.
Mary, do you
I'm
know?
looking, I'm pretty sure he's put up,
Because under zoning boards and commissions, he has all the information related to tomorrow's meeting up
Right.
there. But so far as a separate website page for Brookside alone,
Yeah, and
I think that was, my understanding was it was just in discussions. He hadn't gotten any, but I could be wrong. I really didn't get a chance to talk to him much today.
So I certainly don't want to step on anybody's toes and give direction on that, but that would be my recommendation if everyone's in support of it, that it's under construction updates off of the main page. Oh,
If I'm correct, I believe, Beth, did they not submit an electronic copy of all the drawings and everything that's going to be heard by the zoning commission tomorrow? And if so, my recommendation would be that a link go on the website so that people can look at that overall.
right, yeah, and that was supposed to be part of that, and now I'm not actually finding.
Well, if you do a search of Brookside on the search thing, it comes up with some of the like topography or entry sign, final development plan, site plan, but I don't know where that's being. Anyway, I think probably what we should do is either put it under quick links or in the news and just leave it at the top.
Okay.
So it's a quick.
Yeah.
You know.
All of
hit.
those documents are underneath the zoning commission page right now, so we can, Mary,
can
could you
look
just
at-
have Luke create a quick
Yeah.
yeah.
link to that page, and then that will take them straight to everything related
Yeah,
to
'cause,
that.
I mean, it looks like actually the page that we had isn't there, so maybe it's in process and it's something he's working on, because I'm not.
He
seeing
could
the
be,
old
yeah,
one.
'cause-
I'm not seeing the old one right now either.
Wouldn't you want it under construction updates?
Well, that's where I thought it was
That's
before.
where, well, we used to have future, okay, so.
Future
under
development and construction
future
or something.
developments In
Oh, that's
the,
what it was, yeah.
in the township, it's still there.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
but he hasn't updated it yet. It's under,
So Mary, do you want me to work with you, or do you want me to work with Luke directly on getting this together?
as long as you just copy me on things, you know, you can work with him directly, as long as I know what you're holding him responsible to do. so that I can check in with him and make sure.
Could we also make sure that the links that we're talking about are also on the Brookside page for information, that they're cohesive with the drawings that we've got and what they're presenting?
I'm sorry, Joe, I'm not clear what you're,
Brookside has put together a web page for this entire project. And so whatever links for the electronic drawings that we have, I think that we should have a link, and then I think there should be a link on their page as well, so that we've got the same drawings and the same link going to what's being developed or planned to be developed.
Joe, the country club?
Yes,
Is that website Life at Brookside Cottages or something?
yes.
They're a new one, because
So-
Yeah.
I was on there today and there's not a ton of information on there.
They're gonna be adding, what they've told us is that they're gonna be adding, stuff on there, but,
Okay.
I just I just think that it ought to be going back and forth, that
Yeah.
and so if we had a page on the front, that, like we're talking about, and, I think we did the same thing for the KCC, is that it was like a separate page, people could go. The only thing I'm thinking is, instead of having where people gotta dig, like, where is it at? It's just on the front page, and it's like updates on Brookside, boom, and then as we're
Right.
getting
Agreed.
information, it's just
Right, I
there.
agree with Michelle. We can put it right there in the news and just have it always there, where they can just click on it.
Yeah,
so Joe, I know I sent you an email or replied back to an email where I asked some questions specifically to you to make sure we had the right information. Could you take a look? And if you can't find that email, I'm happy to re-forward it, because I'd like to make sure that we're all in agreement as to what information we're presenting. And I think you and Andy have been more involved with it than we have.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, Michelle. I thought we responded to you with the email that I had sent out with the dates and et cetera, but I'll be happy to try to take a look at that again.
Okay, maybe I missed it then. I'll connect with you tomorrow if I don't see something back from you.
Sounds good.
okay, anything else under zoning? Joe, you're up.
I believe the first item is the TIF. Beth received an email from Rob McCarthy on March 28th, emailing stating that EPCON were meeting with their attorneys the next day to review the documents, and then they would be forwarding them to us. We have not seen anything yet, unless Beth has gotten something. And I'm going to give them another week, if it's okay with you all, because I don't want to ring up a big bell, or big bill, just asking about an update. So my plan is to wait another week and then ask where it is and go from there.
Anything else under TIF that anybody knows? Okay.
The
Okay.
next item is request for authorization to engage Onda Laboon, Rankin and Boggs to do some work on a matter before the township, not to exceed $1,200.
And that's in regards to the MOU for Mount Carmel. So do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
I'll second. Vote
Yes.
yes.
Joe, do you want me to make that call to them, or are you gonna do that one?
I will take care of that, Jim. Thank you.
All right.
Anything else, Joe?
Not at this time.
Okay, road department.
Hi, under old, what's that?
Hold on a second, just for clarification, the services are to review the MOU.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, Ian, go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. The Worthington Hills Drainage project, we have a meeting with Jim Ramsey on Thursday. Chet, did you want to discuss the road levy? I see that on there. Did we have anything to discuss on that right now?
I just want to let people know that I got a text message, something. I got a message from the superintendent, Matt Grease, and myself, and the library director, that it appears that they will be going on the ballot for a school levy in November. So I just want to kind of factor that into our conversations. It's not official. Final decision has been made. We wanted to kind of give a heads up. It's a discussion that's taking place with the school board. So we just need to kind of factor that into our conversation.
Well, the only question I had is the last time with regarding the road levy, and I know that we were looking to combine them and whatever, but if we're gonna lose, if we combine them, then we're gonna lose, that revenue that we had. I don't see any reason in terms of moving that road levy, that idea forward. And we're just gonna have to, it's kind of like you're shooting yourself in the foot. It's like, yeah, we combined it, but we lost money. Doesn't
You
it?
mean the state money?
Yeah, the state money,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
If it is what it is, that's, at least we looked at it and tried, but,
We'll just have to do a very good job of educating people
Right.
Yeah.
why there's two.
no, I think we've done it. It's just, it would have been a lot, it would have
be
been a
nice,
lot easier and nicer to be able to do that.
So
So,
avoided the confusion.
So are they saying, is this more for new buildings and everything?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
It was a very short email message or text message or whatever it was. So I think they just wanted to give us a heads up in case we were considering putting anything on the ballot that they are currently to. And,
Yeah. that would be a-
so I wrote it back and said, Dr. Bowers, appreciate it. We'll factor that into our conversations about anything that may go on the levy.
So is it safe for me to have that removed from the agenda now, because we'll just follow the normal track of as they're coming due?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can use, I'll set one out. Thanks.
okay.
Then on to the 2020 road construction. I had Mark add fiber mat to the specs on his estimate. As you can see, it didn't change the cost per square yard very much at all. I was told that the prices on Sammy went up quite a bit. I'm assuming that's the reason why there's not a lot of difference. So tonight I'm asking the board to approve the county's estimate of $244,833.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Vote,
Yes.
yes.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
Fire and EMS.
Nothing at this time.
Police Department.
Nothing at this time.
Okay, moving right along. Madam Administrator.
Go ahead, say it. Nothing at this time.
I would love to say that, but it's just not going to work out tonight. I've been asked to add the Township quarterly newsletter to the agenda.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody like sending out the newsletter for review and that sort of thing. I guess, I had no issues with any of the topics in the newsletter. The one that I kind of paused on was, the section on the tax. I guess, just wanting to know what I know that it changed from, I just found it confusing, personally, because if you look at it and, the original graph, it looked like, people in Worthington Hills were paying more than Brookside. I just didn't think it sent the message that, we were looking at. And then sort of the other thing that I look at is anytime, an article like that comes out, it's usually followed up by, we're getting ready to, whenever somebody's like tooting their horns and saying, hey, here come, we're doing such a great job from managing the tax, that all of a sudden it's like followed up with, we're getting ready to put something on the ballot. So that's just, typically the way I read it. But I didn't see a lot of point for it. I didn't know what the reason behind it was for. So that was my whole thing on that. But to me, a newsletter is about like, hey, we got brush chipping this month, we got this, we got that. And I just thought the tax thing was sort of a curveball. So
Well, that was my idea. And the reason for it is periodically we get either comments or questions about tax bills. And people out there have a tendency to think, say, if their total tax bill is $10,000, that all that money is coming straight to Perry Township. And that's not the case. It was even more so in the forefront of my mind because I've gotten so many calls from new residents in our new development areas. And I found that most people don't know, you can go onto the auditor's site and look to see what your tax bill is, what the breakdown is. I think it's important for people to know that the revenue Perry Township gets is a relatively small portion of your total tax bill. And more to explain to them and educate, how do I go and see what my breakdown is? Because for example, down in the West Case and Henderson Heights areas, they're paying taxes on a vocational school that other areas aren't. So that was the gist of it. Is I've just found that over the years, people really don't understand how their tax bills are broken down, and more importantly, they don't know how to see how their tax bills are broken down. So
well, you know, the question I have is, what if we just developed the one sheet that when we do get those calls, instead of just putting in a newsletter and recycling, we just do a one sheet that, you know, somebody calls, we can just say,
I
hey,
mean, like an
you know,
e-blast or not an e-blast,
fact
but
yeah, just a
PDF
fact
or
sheet, you know, like a
something that we could
factoid
send.
sheet that we just have on the ready if somebody calls and says, and say, hey, let me just send you this PDF that basically breaks down, it's like an example of it. And then, you know, with just kind of as an as needed basis, we shoot it out.
I kind of like this only because I think we learned with the whole, what was the place right off of the annex.
Kempton Run.
Kempton Run. Those folks came in here en masse and had no idea where their tax money is going. And they had no idea that only whatever 17% goes to Perry Township. I think the vast majority of people, you know, more, the vast majority of people have no idea where their tax dollars go. Right. And they think it goes to Perry Township, but that's their property taxes. They don't realize it goes to the school and Adam H and the library and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I'd almost put one more thing in there too. So, you know, I think people are surprised, you know, so unlike townships do not have the legal authority to collect income tax. Maybe the next line, you know, almost ought to be if you don't want to mess with that, but you know, indeed, residents of Perry Township pay no local tax if they live and work in the township.
so a couple things. I mean, I get your point, and I feel like we've actually maybe done this at some point in the past. I can't recall.
There was a very, very brief thing I did years ago.
I just
Years
for some reason-
ago.
I don't know. I have to say personally, and because I went through it, I was kind of surprised. I told you that I was a little puzzled by how it looked, and I think part of it is the selection of chart. Just because I think it can be confusing because it does sort of, and I saw your changes that you put in the Dropbox. But I mean, I gotta tell you, given the notification that you just shared from the school district, you know, I'm sure they'd appreciate us sharing that the majority of the tax bill is the school district. And by the way, we're about to go on the ballot with another one. So that's just something to consider as well. But if it's something that the board decides you want in the newsletter, I'd like to work with you on how we communicate it differently, because I do think it gets confusing given all of the different residents and neighborhoods that we have and all of their different specific tax rates.
So I
we'd
think-
have to
Yeah, I
focus
would
in
even break
on
it
the
out. I would
charts.
just like, if you're gonna do it, I would just have one graph
Like,
and just
here's
say,
what
hey,
our
here it is.
tax
And
is
I,
of
But the
the-
one graph doesn't work for everybody in the township.
I know. So, first of all, I think it's a good idea, because I don't know, well, people don't understand what their tax bill is. I mean, when you talk to them, they obviously think, in many cases, that all the money goes to the township,
Mhm,
you know,
exactly.
and all they see is the bottom line when they pay
Oh,
that
I
tax
mean,
bill,
I don't
you
disagree with
know.
you. We've had
So,
those
but I think
conversations.
what's confusing are the charts.
Yeah.
And if you take the charts out, you start looking at the text, I think the article should go with some revisions. That's all I'm saying, is that forget the chart. And I know that we are all over the board. We have,
Mhm.
you know, in our township, you know, we have at least 2 school districts. If not, I'm sure Columbus is in there somewhere.
We have Columbus, Upper Arlington, Dublin, and Worthington, so we have 4.
So that causes a problem in people in Worthington Hills do not believe that residents on Riverside Drive are in the township. So when you start talking about a project that they don't believe that that's a township, wherever people live, they believe that's the township.
Oh, of
And
course.
so there, because of that confusion, I don't know that they'll get this whole thing about we are so spread out. So all I'm saying is, I think it's a good article and I think it should go in the newsletter. That's my first thing. The second thing is, I think we should avoid the charge which causes some confusion. And we look at the verbiage, the text, and say, okay, from that standpoint, how can we simplify this? To simply say, you have a tax bill that goes 20 zillion different ways,
Mhm.
and we're about
And
17%.
if you want more detail on your specific.
Right.
Here's a link.
Here's
Maybe
the
we
link.
make it, like I said, I'm always trying to make things is rather than sort of like a long, like a 3-paragraph article, 4-paragraph article with no graphs, no text. And I do think, it's like the USA Today thing, the graphs and text kind of break it up. Maybe it's like bullet points. Here's where your tax dollars go. Boom, where the, roughly. For the tip, 51% go to the schools. This goes to, and
But I mean, we could, honestly, to simplify, it's $26 per, 100,000 goes to the township. Period, regardless of where you are.
but I think you should tell people where their property tax dollars goes.
I don't think it's our responsibility to talk about the rest of their
Yeah.
property, is what I'm saying, because then we get into all of the different.
Well, I think,
You pay the zoo, you don't pay the zoo, you pay for this school, you don't pay for that school. We can't speak to everybody's
but what
situation.
you can do is say, this is how you go up to look at your personal
I agree
tax
with
bill.
that.
And then
would
that
be-
has
I agree
the
with that.
breakdown.
Completely.
But the goal, just so that you understand, was to show that the bulk of anyone's tax bill,
Mhm.
whether it's 60% or 65%, the bulk of everyone's tax bill is right around 60%. The township collects, depending on where you live, right around 17%. But I think the biggest piece I was trying to get out there was to explain to people, this is how you can also go and see how your personal tax bill, the original one they did, I just had an Excel sheet and I had 4 homes that I just picked at random with just what came straight off the auditor site. And then Luke used that data to create that graph. And if that's a confusing piece to people, but I do think it's important that people understand how to go see what their tax bills look like, because we get a lot of calls
And I don't
throughout the
disagree
year
with you at
here.
all.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when initially, like the chart saying, made it look like people in one neighborhood are paying more to Perry than another neighborhood, and that's not accurate.
Well, that
You
was
know.
because of the that was, yeah.
Right,
And
because of the
I,
chart. That's
because
what I'm
my
saying.
numbers kind of got skewed a little bit because of, I was looking at it one way, somebody else was
Mhm.
looking at it a different way. So yeah, on that part of it, I definitely agree, because those percentages really come down to the total of your personal tax bill. Again, not
So-
everyone pays a
So how
tax
about
to
you do this?
vocation.
How about we keep it in the newsletter, but let's revise. Let's take
Okay.
another shot at it.
Yeah.
We need to simplify
Just take
it.
the
We need
graphs
to make sure
out.
that it's not confusing.
Yeah.
If it's bullet points, to break it up, it's bullet points, but
But I do think we need to have just a generic one sheet that you said, okay, and just assume it's a $350,000 house. And, if you live in these things, this is about, again, it's
it's an
Depends.
average.
Yeah.
an
Range.
average, but just have a one sheet and say, hey, if you are in Brookside, this breaks out. If you're Morganton Hills, if you're Henderson Heights, if you're Epcot, just on a 350, let's not get into, particular properties, but just, and then it's a one sheet that if somebody calls, you just send it out and say, hey, if you're new to the resident.
I
this
think
is what
the
you got.
simplest thing is just on the one sheet, I would simply
color.
say,
Nobody does write it.
if everybody knows kind of probably what their house is worth on the auditor's website. They can go, or you can just tell them, go see what, but generally, here's when you pay your property taxes. Roughly, here's where each percentage goes. And there's like 10 things on there.
I get it. I do. It's just all of our different entities have different taxes.
I
So then their
understand that.
percentages are different amounts.
But you could say
So
this is,
that-
this is approximately where they go.
Are you saying in the newsletter?
Yeah. And on the information sheet.
I-
Why would
I
you
mean, I
put
think-
something that's on the auditor's website on your thing? It's like
I'm
you're
not
trying to
saying-
hide the information.
I'm not suggesting that at all. What I'm saying is we can't speak to every single individual's.
But we could give them approximation of where to go and say, here's where.
Well,
the money
I'm all
goes.
for telling them
Yeah.
where to go.
Yeah.
Only
In
17%
terms
of
of the
your money
website,
goes.
in terms of the website.
Only 17% of your, approximately 17% of your tax, your property tax goes to Perry Township. Here's where the rest goes, and it adds up to about 100%.
Jim, I'm not gonna argue with you about it. I mean, I think Beth and I can work together to come up with a draft. You guys can take a look at it and see what you think.
All right.
So the other, so knowing the amount of time that was spent, and I know that Luke wanted to get this thing out of here. Is there any way that we can just get, like, here are the topics we're thinking about doing for the newsletter, just so we can say, all right, well, talk to me about like that. So we don't get, so Luke can get what he's done. I mean, the amount of time that you put in, putting a news, the tax thing together, and then it's like, then we got to modify them. It's just,
You want an
being
outline of
efficient.
the topic?
just, whatever the topics that we're gonna do for that newsletter, just say, hey, guys, for this month, this is what we're thinking about
Yes,
talking
we will do
about.
that.
and then we
Can
can Get it out.
We'll do that.
You just
I
delegate.
mean, honestly, it could save time in the future.
Yeah.
And his
Okay.
effort,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
So for this, so Luke can get this thing out. You're gonna redraft it, you're gonna send it to her.
Well,
you're
I
gonna send
actually,
something
this will shock you. I started editing.
I can tell you, no, actually, to be honest, I've got tons other things I can do. Why don't you go ahead and edit it, send it to the trustees, and we'll just
Call it a day.
call it a day.
Okay.
That's gonna be
fine.
where I've got a lot on my plate, because to your point, we spent a lot of time on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay,
that's a deal.
perfect. Thank you.
I do like how we compare to other townships.
Yeah,
Are you in favor of that, Michelle?
What?
I'm sorry?
I said, are you in favor of showing how we compare to other townships?
Well, do you want to talk about similarly situated townships or just generally?
I think it's
I'm
a
not sure
slippery,
what the
I think it's a
argument
slippery,
is.
I think it's
Franklin,
just a slippery
Franklin
slope.
County townships like we have here.
I'm not, it's like, we're our own township and we set up differently, so, to compare it to other
I
townships,
gotta be honest with you, I don't necessarily want to highlight some of
Yeah.
the, like,
Make it simple.
yeah, I'm sort of the same, I'm
Let's
sort
get
of
the
the same
product
way.
out the door.
okay. Let's see, on to my next agenda item. Let's see, ARP funding request for water and sewer tap-in fee reimbursements. The first that I'm asking for is for 2958 Snowford Road and the amount of 1345. These are obviously folks that have had to tap in for either water or sewer. And the Board of Trustees created this tap-in fee reimbursement plan. The second would be for 950 Larkstone Drive, 1345 as well.
I'll make the motion to approve 1345 for 2958 Stopper Road.
Second,
Vote,
yeah.
yes.
Yes.
I'll also make the motion for 950 Larkstone Drive for 1345.
Second,
Vote,
yes.
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 Great, thank you. I sent out a quick email about this opportunity, which is what I like to call it. Over the past several years, certain times a year, we have residents calling that they've got a hurt or dead deer in their yard, or you name it, possum, so on and so forth. The only option we've had is to just refer people to a company such as Varmint Guard, which can be relatively expensive. We had a police officer who retired from here many, many years ago, who is now qualified to do those sorts of things. We'd looked at different options, perhaps him as a 1099 or a part-time employee, and neither one of those really worked out to be good options. He has his transient vendor license, and so we thought that it might be a good option for residents if we have the police department's approved list of transient vendors where people can go up and look to see who could come in, and that's been double checked by our police department. So we thought maybe we could put Mr. Malone's company name up on that site, just so it's an option. His fees are considerably less than your Varmint Guard and that sort of thing. So we would just like to be able to have, we don't want to be promoting businesses, But this is, he'd be going through the same process as our other vendors have gone through.
We're not promoting.
We're not
endorsing,
promoting, it's just,
Not advertising.
right, right. But but because he was, I mean, it's been a lot of years, but because he was a employee years ago, I just wanted to make sure that the board had that option of.
Personally, I'd ask Beth to just kind of this up. I personally, I don't have a problem, doing, I know it's, again, you don't want to do that, but just like we want to get 3, we always ask for 3 quotes anytime we're doing something. I think we had to at least, if we're gonna put farm and guard in that, then there should be a 3rd or 4th item. So we're not promoting.
But if
we're
it's
just
just
saying,
on the
hey,
approved vendor list.
It's just on the approved vendor
This is
list.
not-
Anybody that
us.
has.
Yeah,
It's so I'm a resident.
right.
I go up there and he's an option and I call, make the decision. That sounds like a good price.
Right.
That's all it is.
We're not providing referrals. We're just
No,
saying.
it's
No.
just, these folks have to come into the police department, pay a fee, fill out a permit request. And the chief of police
On
has
this
to sign
page.
off on it.
In
Right.
any
It's
business,
on the web.
Any
The
business,
registered door-to-door vendors
Yes.
page.
right,
an apartment guard or anybody else
Could choose to do the
could
same.
choose
Correct.
to do the same thing.
right.
So
right.
so
That's
did this
different.
tweak from, I know you sent an email and I apologize, I didn't have a chance to respond to it on this. On Tim.
Tweak from.
Is it a tweak, like just to put him on the vendor list? Because I interpreted your email to mean like we were going to endorse him as a.
Oh, no,
business.
that's the last thing we want to do. We just
Right.
we were trying to come up with different options. And then we thought, well, we have this approved vendor
Gotcha.
list. He's going to be getting, he's required to have a transient vendor license through the state. And then he would need to come to the township to be approved to put his name out there within the township.
Won't we leave that to the residents, whether they want to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 20?
Yeah, to me, that's very, very, I mean, we're not coming to the board saying we want to have this one person work for the township. These are options, so that residents can feel like they're not going to be walking into a scam, because there's plenty of that out there.
some on the registered door-to-door vendors, instead of saying approved vendors, can we just say
Registered vendors.
Yeah.
registered vendor? Because approved vendors means like we did a
Like we're endorsing
background,
them.
but I like the BBB. I mean, that's probably the thing that I would be making bold. It's like, check with the BBB and almost make that its own separate line, huge, like, look at this, because that's,
Okay.
but yeah, approved vendors, like when I read that, I know we're wordsmithing, but to me, approved vendors mean like we did a background or due diligence, and the only thing we did was they came in and, did a permit.
So they're
So-
registered.
Chief, can you
Yeah.
speak to that? Because like, again, they have to come in and do an application. What's your process at the police department?
So what we do when somebody comes in that wants to be a vendor in the township, we actually go to all the public record websites to make sure who they are. We check some of those things. Before I sign off, I want to make sure they're a legitimate company that's not here to create bad business or scam people.
But
But
we're
that's
not,
all
we're
we're
not
vouching for.
recommending them, I think is the
No.
difference. We're not.
Right, we're not recommending. All we're saying is, we can't do a background, so to speak, but what we can do is anything that's public record related, we can check that. We can check the Better Business Bureau. We can look at those things. And a lot of times I'll ask where else they've received or applied, and I'll also call somebody in that jurisdiction to find out if they've had any issues.
Yeah, I think the word approved came from their permit was approved.
Yeah, I'm
Please.
sure.
Why,
Yeah.
hey, could we link, so here's another way of looking at it. Could we just do permitted vendors and then absolute contracting plus? Can you just hyperlink that to the BBB, to their thing on the BBB?
I don't see why not.
I just, and that goes for you, you don't have to sit there and call them whatever. It's like, you're just gonna
Right.
hyperlink them. If they got a D- rating, then but people are like saying, oh, permitted vendors, absolute contract plus, boom, takes me to their BBB page, and we're kind of out of the middle of it in terms of doing background checks and that sort of thing. I mean, that's kind of what the BBB does. And
Right. Well, and anytime they come to get a permit though, I'm always going to check them. I won't
Yeah,
sign.
that's fine.
Because over the years, Chief Petrosian and I've had to revoke a few of those as well because of some issues that some of the businesses caused in the neighborhoods.
Okay.
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 Okay,
So I'm sorry, I'm unclear now. So what do you want, instead of approved vendors, it should be
Permitted,
permitted
Permitted
vendors.
permitted,
and you want a hyperlink.
like Absolute Contracting Plus would be hyper.
I thought we were gonna do
blue,
it registered.
And you could do, or registered. vendors.
Registered, they're registered with us.
Right.
If
Right.
permitted, it's kind of like the thing, like
It's approved.
somehow we gave them a special
permit to
permit
do
to do
Right,
something.
well,
Yeah.
we do get that, I mean, it's.
They
Yeah,
do
we-
get a permit.
I know that, but.
Yeah.
I just think.
How about, can I make a suggestion? How about we do registered vendors with a little blurb on there that they receive a permit from the township to go door to door within Perry Township, something that just kind of explains what it is.
Sounds good.
Okay.
That,
Okay, cool. So I just wanted to, this is just something I want to get on everyone's radar. We've talked about this in the past, trying to move things, documents and such off our servers. Our one server in particular is getting kind of old. Luke and I had a meeting with Think CSC today. They're putting together quotes for us on some upcoming things I'd like for the board to take a look at. One is Sync Tool. That would take all of our files off the hardware and go to the cloud. There's a lot of good things about that. There's government plans. You don't have to sign up for Microsoft account to receive or send information. It goes across different, from PCs to Macs to iPhones to Androids and that sort of thing. So I think CSC is putting together a package for us for pricing. My question would be, would you care for a person from Think CSC to come in and kind of demo this for you folks
so
or answer
we're just talking
questions?
about going to the cloud.
Going to
for
the
our
cloud for our
servers.
documents, taking everything off the server. The only thing we can't take off the server would be our UAN,
Yeah.
which is our accounting. And then when the police get to the point where they have body cams, we'll have to have a server for that. I'm kind of hoping Chief would be able to find a small section on that server for our UAN. So that would kind of be a twofer, but I don't know how that would work. So yes, or we would, one of the nice things is that we are billed by Think CSC based on equipment and users.
Yeah.
So the cost for them would kind of take off some of the cost of the sync tool.
So
So-
just to let you know, like, so we're on ShareFile. We used to be on Dropbox, like, you know, I think I've said, so we have never had a server in our office.
Yeah.
So we went from Dropbox, and the reason why we went to ShareFile is because a lot of our healthcare clients for HIPAA reasons couldn't, you know, download. So we went to ShareFile, and we have 14 licensed users on ShareFile with unlimited storage, like personal, and we do a ton of photos, ton of graphics, everything like that. We pay $263 a month for that.
You called it ShareFile?
ShareFile, yeah.
I'll go ahead and look into that and get pricing too.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like, and again, I don't know if they have a government, I mean, that's private, but we paid, and they haven't upped it, knock on wood, in probably 4 years.
Okay.
So,
One of the things they did say about this particular one is they have to comply with all government related stuff. So for example, our emails have to stay within North America.
right,
Our emails and so forth can't be stored in a different country. So you have those kind of protections and
Right.
such. But in any case, let me check into that one too, just so, and if you have a third suggestion, I wasn't able to come up with another
Okay.
one, so.
well, I think Dropbox, to be honest with you, I think Dropbox has kind of upgraded their security. I don't think they have the same issues that we had with them back. They've kind of upgraded.
Well, it's kind of a
So-
flexibility thing, but I know when we checked into pricing to create more space, it was gonna be really expensive
Yeah,
for the township. So that's why we're trying to look at other options. The only other thing is that our license agreements for our Microsoft Office products are gonna be running out here before long. Their recommendation is for everyone to move to Office 365, which some of us are already on it. So it's so I've asked for pricing on that as well. And then for records retention, I know I have a gazillion emails that I can't do anything with. They have a hosting thing through Think CSC that would help with our records retention. So we can say anything related to this can go away in a year, anything related to that can go away to match up with the records retention that Luke did. So again, getting pricing as soon as I have all my ducks in a row, I'll go ahead and start sharing that information with everyone to get approvals that we need, okay? And that is all I had.
Mr. Chairman, I need to go back to an item. Or the road, mill and pave.
Mhm.
I need to correct my motion, because I believe calculations according to our fiscal officer. Instead of making a motion to reflect authorization to expend 244,833, I'd like to make a motion not to exceed $250,000 even.
Right. Beth, I'll just give you the hard copy where I was doing the math.
Okay.
There's just a few, looks like calculation issues. I didn't finish this side, but I did finish this side.
This
or
is the actual
this
estimate
side.
from the county.
Okay, yeah,
And it made,
I don't
yeah,
know-
I think he
don't know
was
what the
just going,
problem is.
well,
This
yeah,
is the
and that
actual
could be very well, but the bottom,
just to make sure that.
Yeah.
Money in the-
Okay,
in the motion.
because this is actually from the county.
So is this spreadsheet is the one that,
Okay, I'm not
It's
sure.
coming
yeah,
from
it's,
that.
it's,
Okay, so this is wrong. You're saying the county's
Okay.
estimate's wrong?
that I don't,
The math in the county's estimate?
It may be.
it might be.
Okay.
it's okay. We'll call that up and double check tomorrow.
But that way you should be covered with
250.
Yeah.
the amount.
Yeah,
That's
Okay.
okay.
that's fine.
I'm not sure who made, or did you make the motion?
Andy made the motion.
Andy
I made the
You gotta change your
motion.
motion.
So I'm going to change my motion to not to exceed 250,000 for the fiber
Okay,
mat.
Second,
Vote
yeah.
yes.
perfect. Thank
Perfect.
you. Whoops.
Okay, fiscal officer,
Was the motion to approve payroll reimbursements?
so move. Vote
Yes.
yes. Anything else for the good of the cause? Hearing none, I move to adjourn.